Pay attention. A young woman is standing at her window at 3 o'clock in the morning. She is 26 years old. She has not slept in 4 days. She is whispering into her phone because she is afraid that if she speaks at full volume, the person inside the house across the street will hear her. The house is empty. It has been empty for 2 years. There is no power, no heat, no furniture, no tenants. And yet every night this week, she has seen a light moving behind those curtains. Not a ceiling light, a flashlight, moving slowly, room to room. She tells the dispatcher she can hear something being dragged across the floor. She tells the dispatcher something smells wrong. She tells the dispatcher this is the 6th time she has called this week. The dispatcher asks if she wants to send a unit. She says yes. She says she has been saying yes all week. The 7th call was the one that changed everything. Cedar Falls, Iowa, November 2022. Ridgewood Drive was the kind of street where nothing happened. Older homes, mature trees, families who had lived side by side for 20 years. Everyone knew which houses were occupied and which ones were not. They knew the Abreuas had a new dog. They knew Kevin Doyle left for work at 6:15 every morning. They knew 412 Ridgewood Drive had been sitting dark and empty since March 2021. No one should have been inside that house. Before the story of how those 7 calls unfolded, it is important to understand what investigators ultimately found. Because what they found inside that house was not a squatter. It was not an animal. It was not a broken pipe or a faulty alarm. The crawlspace hatch was in the kitchen floor. 24 inches by 24 inches, flush with the linoleum, painted over so many times the edges had nearly sealed shut, but the paint around the frame was cracked, recently disturbed. The padlock that the owner's daughter had installed in 2021 was gone. The hasp had been cut clean. Inside the crawlspace, against the far wall, wrapped in black plastic sheeting and bound with cable ties, was the body of a woman. Beside her, a single white sneaker, a cracked phone screen, a gold chain necklace still clasped, the pendant resting against the plastic, a small letter D. 38 feet away, mounted above the front door of the house directly across the street, a Ring doorbell camera had captured a man entering through the side gate on 4 separate nights. On the 3rd entry, his hood shifted as he checked over his shoulder. His face was partially visible. On the 4th night, he passed directly through the gate light and his profile held for 2.3 seconds. The house had no power. He had brought his own light. He had come back 4 times. The neighbors had called police 6 times before anyone reviewed that footage. This is what was inside the house. This is the story of how it got there. Dana Collier was 34 years old. She had grown up in Waterloo, Iowa, 20 minutes from Cedar Falls, the older of 2 daughters. She had studied occupational therapy at the University of Northern Iowa and had worked at Allen Hospital since 2014. She spent her days in the pediatric ward helping children with motor disabilities relearn fundamental tasks: how to hold a pencil, how to button a shirt, how to tie a shoe. And her co-workers described her as patient in a way that went beyond professional. She remembered every child's birthday. She kept a drawer full of stickers, not the generic kind, the specific kind. Dinosaurs for the boy who loved paleontology. Planets for the girl who wanted to be an astronaut. She paid attention to what children cared about because she understood that being seen was part of healing. Outside of work, Dana was a hiker. She kept a mud-splattered journal where she logged every trail she completed. 47 entries since 2018. Each one included the date, the mileage, the weather, and 1 sentence about something she had noticed. A bird she could not identify the way light came through the canopy at noon, the sound a creek made when it was running low in August. She lived alone in a 1-bedroom apartment on College Street. houseplants on every windowsill, a gray cat named Orbit who slept on her hiking boots. Her neighbor, Mrs. Kwan, was 71 years old and lived alone. And every Sunday morning, without exception, Dana knocked on her door and asked if she needed anything from the grocery store. Her sister Renee was her closest person. They spoke almost every day. They had the kind of relationship where they could sit in the same room reading different books and call it a good afternoon. Dana had dated Marcus Hale for 14 months. He was 38, a long-haul truck driver, gone for stretches of 4 and 5 days at a time. Her coworkers noticed over the summer of 2022 that Dana had grown quieter. She stopped mentioning him. She wore long sleeves through August. Her colleague Priya asked once gently if everything was all right. Dana said yes. She changed the subject. In September 2022, Dana filed a report with the Cedar Falls Police Department. It was logged as a noise complaint. It was not a noise complaint. Investigators would confirm this later. The misfiling meant no flag was attached to her name, no follow-up was scheduled, no pattern was recorded. In October 2022, Dana ended the relationship. She told Renee it was over. She said she felt safer already. She said she was finally sleeping again. Her last journal entry was dated November 7, 2022. It described a trail she was planning to hike the following weekend. Brushy Creek State Recreation Area, 11.4 miles. She had already packed her bag. It was sitting by the front door of her apartment when police entered 2 weeks later. 412 Ridgewood Drive had belonged to Gerald Mathers since 1987. He was 79 years old, a retired school teacher, a widower. In March 2021, after a fall shattered his hip, his daughter Janet moved him to an assisted living facility in Des Moines. Gerald refused to sell the house. He said he planned to return. Janet visited twice a year to check on the property. She had installed a padlock on the crawlspace hatch. She had turned off the utilities. The last time she had been inside was August 2022. The house sat dark. The front yard grew out. The curtains stayed closed. The neighbors on Ridgewood Drive watched it the way people on quiet streets watch things. Passively. Collectively. They all knew it was empty. Across the street at number 411 lived Kara Maddox. She was 26 years old. She worked remotely as a data analyst for a logistics company in Chicago. She had moved to Cedar Falls 18 months earlier for lower rent and had chosen Ridgewood Drive because it was quiet and had street parking. She had a Ring doorbell camera she had installed herself after a package was stolen from her porch. Kara was not a nervous person. She was precise, observant, methodical. When she saw something that did not fit, she noted it and she acted on it. What she began seeing in the first week of November 2022 did not fit. Tom and Janice Abreu lived to the left of 412. Kevin Doyle lived to the right. He worked early shifts and was a light sleeper. On the night of November 4th, 2022, Marcus Hale carried Dana Collier's body through the side gate of 412 Ridgewood Drive and into the kitchen and down through the crawlspace hatch. Nobody saw him do it. Call 1 came on November 5th at 11:40 in the evening. At Tom Abreu. He told the dispatcher he had seen a light moving on the second floor of the empty house across the street. Not a steady light, a moving one, like a flashlight being carried from room to room. An officer arrived, walked the exterior perimeter, found all doors locked and all windows intact. No signs of entry were visible from outside. The call was logged as unfounded. Call 2 came the following night. November 6th, 2:30 in the morning. Janice Abreu. She had woken up to a sound she struggled to describe, something being pulled across wood, she said, a slow dragging, and a smell. She could not identify the smell, but it was coming from the direction of the empty house. An officer checked the exterior, same result, logged as unfounded. Call 3 was November 7th at 8:15 in the evening. Kevin Doyle. He had seen a figure move past a downstairs window. The officer arrived, walked the perimeter, shone a flashlight through the front windows. Empty rooms, dust, nothing. Logged as unfounded. Call 4 was November 8th at 1 o'clock in the morning. Kevin Doyle again. He heard what he described as a door closing from somewhere inside the house. Not the front door, inside. The officer checked the side gate. It was latched but not locked. The officer did not enter the interior. Logged as unfounded. Call 5 was November 8th at 11:30 in the evening. Kara Maddox. She was awake at her desk when she saw a man walk through the side gate. She described him to the dispatcher. Dark jacket, tall, medium build. She said he was carrying something. The officer arrived 22 minutes later. No one was present. Nothing appeared disturbed from the exterior, but logged as unfounded. Call 6 was November 9th at 3 a.m. Kara Maddox again. She was whispering into her phone. She told the dispatcher she could hear something being dragged across the floor inside the empty house. She told the dispatcher the smell had been getting stronger for 3 days. She told the dispatcher this was the 6th call this week and no one had gone inside yet. The officer noted the smell in his log. He wrote, "Possible animal decay beneath porch." He did not enter the building. Logged as unfounded. Kara stood at her window after the officer left. She watched the dark house. She watched the curtains. She did not sleep. Call 7 came the morning of November 10th at 9 a.m. Tom Abreu. He walked across the street in daylight and stood outside the side gate and called 911 and told the dispatcher he was not leaving until someone went inside. He told them the smell was strong enough to taste. Officer Donna Reyes arrived at 9:22 a.m. She had 4 years on the force. She had not responded to any of the previous 6 calls. She walked the perimeter. She checked the front door. She checked the back door. Then she went to the north side of the house, the side facing Kevin Doyle's property, and she found what every previous officer had missed. A basement access window at ground level. Small. The latch broken. The wooden frame slightly warped and recently disturbed, fresh scrape marks in the paint where it had been pushed from the outside. She called for backup. She called for a K9 unit. She noted the smell in her log. She wrote 3 words, "Not an animal." The K9 unit arrived at 10:05 a.m. The dog, a Belgian Malinois named Cord, moved through the house quickly. Living room, hallway, staircase, then the kitchen. Cord stopped at the floor. He did not move. He sat down and he looked up at his handler. It is worth pausing here to understand why 6 separate police responses failed to escalate what the residents of Ridgewood Drive were clearly and consistently reporting. When multiple calls come in about the same address over consecutive nights, they are frequently handled by different officers responding to individual dispatches with no shared documentation. There is no automatic flag that says, "This is the 6th call to this location in 5 days." Each officer approaches a fresh call, evaluates it independently, and logs it based on what they observe from the exterior. If there is no visible point of entry and no sound or movement at the time of arrival, the default classification is unfounded. The FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program has identified this pattern across hundreds of documented cases. Repeat calls to the same location, dismissed individually, have preceded confirmed crime scene discoveries in a significant number of residential homicide investigations. What investigators call call fatigue, the unconscious downgrading of repeat reports from familiar addresses, is not negligence in the legal sense, but it is a systemic failure with documented consequences. In cases like this one, the crime is not only what happened inside the house, The crime is also what was missed outside it, night after night, while the evidence walked in and out through the side gate. Officer Reyes and her backup, Officer James Patel, opened the crawlspace hatch at 10:28 a.m. The smell was immediate and total. Both officers stepped back. Reyes pulled on gloves. She shone her flashlight down into the space, approximately 3.5 feet of depth. Dirt floor, copper pipes running along the cinder block wall, old insulation sagging between the joists. And against the far wall, wrapped in black plastic sheeting, bound at the top and the middle with black cable ties, the unmistakable shape of a human body. Reyes called it in at 10:31 a.m. She secured the scene. She did not touch anything else. Beside the wrapped remains visible in the beam of the flashlight, one white Nike sneaker, size 7, a Samsung phone with a shattered screen, a gold chain, delicate, still clasped, the pendant face up, a small letter D. Detective Ray Solis of the Criminal Investigations Division arrived at 11:45 a.m. He spoke with Officer Reyes. He spoke with Tom Abreu, still standing at the gate, pale and silent. He reviewed what had been logged from the previous 6 calls. Janet Mathers was reached by phone. She confirmed that a padlock had been installed on the crawlspace hatch in the spring of 2021. She confirmed that no one had been given access to the property. She confirmed that she had not been inside since August. The cut hasp was photographed. The broken latch on the basement window was photographed. The hatch, the crawlspace, the remains, the sneaker, the phone, the pendant, all of it photographed and documented before anything was moved. Someone had been using this house. Someone had been coming back. And they had left something they believed the world would never find. The body was transported to the Black Hawk County Medical Examiner's office. Dr. Patricia Osei conducted the examination. Female, mid-30s, Caucasian, dark brown hair, approximately 5 feet 4 inches. Cause of death, manual strangulation. The hyoid bone was fractured. Petechial hemorrhaging was present in both eyes. Time of death was estimated at November 4th to 5th, 2022. The night before, Tom Abreu made the very first call. Fingerprints were intact. They were submitted to AFIS. The match returned in 6 hours. Dana Collier, 34 years old. Cedar Falls, Iowa. Solis cross-referenced the missing persons database. Dana had been reported missing on November 8th, 3 days after her body was already in the crawlspace, by her sister Renee, us who had not heard from her in 4 days. Renee had called Dana's workplace. They said Dana had not come in. Renee had driven to the apartment on College Street. The lights were off. Orbit was crying at the door. Dana had been missing for 3 days before anyone knew to look for her. She had been dead longer than that. Detective Solis canvassed Ridgewood Drive for camera footage within the hour. Kara Maddox's Ring camera was the first he reviewed. It sat 38 feet from the side gate of 412. Its motion-activated recording had logged activity on 4 separate nights. November 4th, 11:52 p.m. A tall male figure entered through the side gate carrying a large duffel bag. Hood up, face fully obscured. His movement was deliberate and unhurried. He knew where he was going. November 6th, 2:18 a.m. The same figure. No bag this time, and he entered and exited within 14 minutes. November 8th, 12:47 a.m. He entered again. As he pulled the gate closed behind him, he glanced back over his left shoulder. The hood shifted. The left side of his face was visible for under a second. Jawline, ear, the line of his nose. November 9th, 2:14 a.m. He passed directly through the pool of light above the gate. His profile held for 2.3 seconds. Clear enough. Solis sent the footage to the department's forensic video unit. Analysts worked through the night. Physical descriptors were extracted. Male, 6'1" to 6'3", 200 to 220 pounds. A dark, insulated jacket with a horizontal seam across the chest, and a gait abnormality. A slight drag of the right foot, consistent across all 4 entries. The duffel bag from the first night received particular attention. The way the figure carried it, low, two-handed, slow, deliberate steps, indicated weight and rigidity. Not clothing, not tools, something dense, something that did not shift. A BP gas station 0.4 miles from Ridgewood Drive had exterior cameras covering the parking area. A black Ford F-250 with Iowa plates had been recorded parked at the air pump with the engine off and the lights off on the night of November 4th. The truck sat still for 22 minutes. The plate was partially obstructed by the pump column. 3 characters were legible. 4 TK. Solis had a face. He had a vehicle. He had 4 timestamps. He had a drag in the right foot. He had a partial plate. Now he needed a name. He came back 4 times. To a house he had no right to enter. To a body he had hidden in the dark. Forensic psychologists have a term for this behavior. They call it scene maintenance. It is the compulsion a perpetrator feels to return to a location connected to their crime, to check, to confirm, to reassert control over what they have done. It is not rational behavior. It is driven by anxiety, by the need to know that what was hidden is still hidden. And it is one of the most consistent behavioral patterns documented in domestic homicide cases involving a perpetrator who had a personal relationship with the victim. The FBI's data is unambiguous. In cases where an intimate partner commits homicide, the perpetrator returns to the crime scene or the victim's last known location in over 30% of documented cases. The return is not recklessness, it is compulsion. And compulsion, almost without exception, leaves evidence. And he came back 4 times. Each time he walked past Carol Finster's camera. Each time the timestamp recorded itself. He believed the house was invisible. He was wrong. Dana Collier's phone records were subpoenaed on November 11th. Her last outgoing call was November 4th at 9:47 p.m. 4 minutes. To Renee. Renee said Dana had sounded normal. Tired, she said, like she was winding down for the night. The last incoming call was November 4th at 10:12 p.m. from a number registered to a prepaid burner phone purchased at a Walmart in Iowa City 3 weeks earlier. Dana's car was found November 12th in a parking lot behind a strip mall on University Avenue, 1.2 miles from 412 Ridgewood Drive. Forensic processing recovered fibers from a dark jacket on the passenger headrest, a partial boot print on the passenger floor mat, size 13, and in the 30 days following Dana ending the relationship, her phone records showed 34 incoming calls from a single number, then a gap of 10 days, then the burner phone. The number that had called 34 times was registered to Marcus Hale. The DM5 cross-reference on black Ford F-250 trucks in Black Hawk County, with plates beginning 4TK, returned 47 registered vehicles. Marcus Hale's 2019 F-250 carried Iowa, plate 4TK 882. A 2017 workers' compensation filing in Hale's name listed his standard issue work boot size, 13. A 2017 arrest record in Lynn County documented an assault charge involving a former girlfriend. The charge had been dropped after the victim declined to cooperate with prosecution. Every thread connected to the same name. Detective Solis applied for a warrant on November 14th. It was granted the same afternoon. Marcus Hale was located at his residence in Evansdale, 9 miles from Cedar Falls. Officers arrived at 7:33 in the morning on November 15, 2022. He was in the kitchen when they knocked. He answered the door. He looked at the badges. He said nothing. He was placed under arrest without incident. The search of his home recovered the dark, insulated jacket with the horizontal seam visible in the Ring camera footage, a pair of size 13 Timberland boots with mud in the treads. Forensic analysis confirmed the mud contained a soil composition consistent with samples taken from the crawlspace at 412 Ridgewood Drive, a specific combination of clay content and organic matter that matched within the acceptable margin. The burner phone was recovered from a kitchen drawer. It had been factory reset, and a factory reset is not the same as wiped. Forensic extraction recovered 3 text messages sent to Dana Collier's number on November 4th, the last at 10:08 p.m., 4 minutes before the final incoming call on her phone. The messages were not included in official press releases. Dana Collier was told their content in private. She has never repeated it publicly. She said once, in the only interview she gave, that reading them made her understand how afraid her sister must have been, and how alone. Marcus Hale said nothing when he was arrested. He requested a lawyer. He did not ask what the charges were. He already knew what they had found. Investigators traced Marcus Hale's connection to 412 Ridgewood Drive to the summer of 2019. That year, he had worked a 6-week roofing contract on Ridgewood Drive. The job site was 2 houses from number 412. He had spent 6 weeks on that street. He had watched Gerald Mathers come and go. He had watched the house grow quieter as Gerald's health declined. He had been present when the utilities went dark. A former co-worker confirmed that Hale had commented on the empty house during the job. He had said, without particular emphasis, that a place like that, empty, no one checking, nobody would know if you went in. The co-worker had thought nothing of it. The crawlspace padlock had been cut with bolt cutters. An inventory of Marcus Hale's work van, conducted under warrant, documented a pair of bolt cutters in the cargo area. He had not chosen 412 Ridgewood Drive in a moment of panic or desperation. He had selected it 3 years in advance, and he had returned to it in his mind over and over, while the house sat empty, and Gerald Mathers grew older and the street grew quieter. When he needed it, he knew exactly where it was and exactly what it would be used for. He had prepared. Marcus Hale was charged with first-degree murder, unlawful entry, and abuse of a corpse. His trial began in September 2023 in Black Hawk County District Court. The Ring camera footage was entered into evidence. The fiber analysis, the boot print, the soil composition, the recovered text messages. A forensic gait analyst testified that the drag pattern in Hale's right foot, documented in his workers' compensation file and visible across all 4 Ring camera recordings, was consistent to a scientific certainty. The defense challenged the gait analysis. The judge allowed it. The jury deliberated for 11 hours, guilty on all 3 counts. Marcus Hale was sentenced in November 2023, exactly 1 year after Dana's body had been found beneath the kitchen floor of a house he had no right to enter. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. He made no statement. He looked at the wall behind the judge. He showed nothing. Dana Collier read a victim impact statement. She spoke for 11 minutes. She talked about Dana's houseplants. She talked about Orbit. She talked about Mrs. Kwan and the Sunday morning grocery runs. She talked about 47 trails in a mud-splattered journal. She talked about a bag packed and sitting by a door for a hike that never happened. She did not look at Marcus Hale once. Kara Maddox gave one interview 2 months after the verdict. She was composed and precise, and the way she always was. She said she still replays the footage in her mind at night. The figure at the gate, the bag, the timestamps accumulating while 6 calls went unanswered, and she stood at her window in the dark, afraid to breathe too loud. She said she wished she had gone outside. Then she stopped, corrected herself, and said it would not have mattered. Dana was already gone before the first call was ever made. She said knowing that does not help. She has not spoken publicly since. Kevin Doyle submitted a formal written request for a review of how the 7 calls were handled. The Cedar Falls Police Department sent a letter confirming they had received it. Gerald Mathers never returned to the house. His daughter Janet sold it in early 2024. The new owners learned what had happened inside it from their neighbors within the first week of moving in. Dana Collier adopted Orbit. Dana's co-workers drove to Brushy Creek State Recreation Area in June 2023 and hiked all 11.4 miles together. They brought her photograph to the overlook at the highest point on the trail. One of them carried Dana's journal. At the top, she opened it to the next blank page and added the entry herself: the date, the mileage, the weather, and one sentence about the light coming through the trees, and how Dana would have loved it.